Will Ripley in the house. How are you doing today? Hope it's awesome. It's a Friday afternoon here. Getting ready for a great weekend. I've got some friends coming in from out of town. Let me know what you're up to this weekend. And of course, it's rock guitar solo of the week, my friends. And this will be a ton of fun because I love the 90s. I had to, and it's all about the 90s today. I want to cover some 90s rock guitar techniques. And if you can tell from that intro, you know, we're going all 90s today. So the jam track is kind of done in this Jane's Addiction style track. And we're going to be kind of lifting solo ideas from, definitely from Jane's Addiction. Dave Navarro is one of my favorite guitar players. So he played in Jane's Addiction and of course the Red Hot Chili Peppers as well. And also we're going to get very Pearl Jam-esque on this track as well. So definitely some Mike McCready style licks that are, you know, very Hendrix-based or very rock-based. You know, and that's the thing about the 90s. And let me know, first of all, what you love about the 90s. Let me know your favorite band from the 1990s. How about that? I've listed one of mine, which is Jane's Addiction, but I love a lot of bands. So I wore my Alice in Chains shirt, had to wear some grunge gear today. And of course, the iconic 90s rock guitar, the Fender Mustang, which of course Kurt Cobain made famous. So anyways, let me know what you guys love about the 1990s. How about your favorite 1990s rock band? Let me know that in the comments. But also your a 1990s band that isn't super famous, but you love them anyways. And I just came across this band called School of Fish, and they've got this song called 3 Strange Days. And it just came up on my Spotify Discover Weekly one day. And anyways, they're a 1990s band. I was like, that song kills. And I've never even heard of it. So, you know, the 1990s was full of great music. And what I was alluding to a minute ago was that a lot of the guitar players in the 1990s were deeply influenced by the classic rock gods. You know, whether that be Tony Iommi from Black Sabbath or Jimmy Page or Jimi Hendrix, you know, the Beatles. You know, so say if we take a couple of the, really iconic 90s rock bands, like Stone Temple Pilots, for instance, another one of my favorite 90s rock bands. I kind of think about them as like a mixture between the Beatles and and Led Zeppelin. And when I think about Rage Against the Machine, I kind of think of like a combination of Black Sabbath and Led Zeppelin. Or when I think about the Red Hot Chili Peppers, they're like very Jimi Hendrix meets James Brown. You know, so a lot of these guys were very deeply influenced by the classic rock guys and the classic blues guys, the classic funk guys. You know, so that's probably one of my favorite things about the 1990s is we've got all this great music that's like super heavy, super dark, great guitar tones, great songs, you know, great songwriting. But yeah, it's all kind of based in all the classic rock and blues and funk and things like that. And so I just absolutely love the 1990s. So I look forward to digging into this solo and just cranking out some of these 90s rock techniques. And so so we're going to go over everything from 90s rock techniques like octaves to like the whammy pedal. Okay, if you can name the guitar player that was really famous for using a whammy pedal, let me know. Because there was actually a few of them, but there's one in particular that kind of like hits some of those sounds. So, okay, so there's some comments coming in. Black Crows, somebody says. Stained, Godsmack, Rage Against the Machine. Yes, Rage Against the Machine. In case that person was answering my my whammy pedal question. Of course, that's very Tom Morello-esque from Rage Against the Machine. And yeah, so some of my favorite bands, Alice in Chains, wore my Alice in Chains shirt today. Soundgarden, another great 90s rock band. Jane's Addiction, Rage Against the Machine. And I don't really consider Stained or Godsmack to be 90s rock bands, but I kind of think about those bands to be more like 2000s era. But the thing is about the late 90s, early 2000s is, of course, those bands were deeply influenced by the 90s. And so, and in fact, one of the licks that I'm playing over here, I was really going for more of a Jane's Addiction vibe, but it kind of came out sounding more like Puddle of Mud. And of course, this is going to be the first part of the solo, which sounds something like this. Yeah, and so Audioslave, for instance, is definitely 90s rock bands combined. There's the singer from Soundgarden, Chris Cornell, and the band members from Rage Against the Machine to form Audioslave. But Audioslave came out in, I think, 2002, right? But anyways, yeah, the 2000s does have a lot of great rock too, and definitely I'm into that stuff too. So, guys, let's talk about this technique called octaves. So, you can play some really great melodies using octaves. And in this case, we're going to be kind of combining major scale notes and minor scale notes to form this melody that I've selected here for you. So what we're going to do, okay, so let's talk about the chords first. This whole jam track goes like this. It goes from an E to a G to an A. Cycle that back around. So let's just try the chords first. And by the way, you can play these like power chords. Okay. So yeah, so E to G to A, back to G, to G to A. And that's pretty much the whole track. Now, what was really cool about the 90s is, yeah, those are the chords, but actually, if you listen closely to the guitar tracks that I laid down in the jam track, I've got one guitar going like this. So I've got this kind of first part of a G chord. Anyways, so we've got some lines like that, and then the second guitar was doing something like this. Again, still following the exact same chords, but so I'm just going like using an E power chord, but utilizing a lot of these open strings. So if you dial up a three-finger power chord, you can actually play all 6 strings in this position, and it sounds really big, really resonant. And then I was playing an A chord like this using a power chord, and I was hitting the B string with it, which ends up being a 9th. So it just kind of creates this really big, beautiful resonant chord. D chord I was playing with my first finger on the 5th fret. So that cycle of those 3 or 4 basic chords would look like this. And so I layered those 2 parts together. And yeah, so it is E, G, A, but it's kind of creating a more unique way and just layering parts to kind of create a 90s rock alternative sound. So anyways, that's another thing I love about the 90s is just the creative chord voicings and stuff like that. And a lot of them are really easy, but they just sound a lot different than your average, straightforward chords, okay? So let's talk about this first part of the solo. We're we're going to be using Octave Shapes. So, of course, I'm hiding my fingers so you can really clearly see this, but I'm going to be sliding around on octaves all the way up, starting from the A string. So actually, if we go back to that 3-finger power chord that we were just discussing, this big resonant 6-string power chord, well, what we're going to do here is actually take off our 3rd finger, and there's 2 different ways you can play octaves. You can play it just like this, and you want to mute the D string. So I'm going to be plowing my right hand through that, through those 3 strings, and one's getting muted, right? Or you can play it with your 3rd finger. Okay. I kind of like using my pinky finger because I find that my 2nd and 3rd finger end up being like a spacer, and it allows me to just always have the appropriate amount of space between my 1st and 4th finger. So when I'm doing something like I'm about to show you, like I'm able to slide this whole shape around and kind of just use these fingers as kind of placeholders. So however you decide, whether that's with your pinky finger or your 3rd finger, this is a great 90s rock guitar technique that actually, I believe, originated from jazz. So if you think about, and if you listen to the guitar player Wes Montgomery, he was famous for doing this. So an octave, of course, is the same note, but it just sounds higher than the original. So we got, those 2 are both E notes. So the very first line goes like this, and you'll see the tabs there on screen. But we're going to go 7th fret to the 10th fret to the 12th fret. And the melody goes like this. So I'm making sure I'm playing it right and all that. So you can see there's a little slide there from 10 to 12. And some chicka-chickas in between. So I'm muting my low string with my 1st finger, and I'm muting my high strings with my 1st finger. And my 3rd finger is muting the B string just kind of as a backup plan. But yeah, see if you can strike all 6 strings, but only allow your fretted notes to actually play. And that will give you a nice aggressive tone, but it will allow it to be clean and clear. Okay, so that first melody sounds like this. And then I'm going to switch from the 10th fret to the 11th fret, down to 5th fret, down to 4th fret. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Okay, we've got the first melody of and so try to make these parts as catchy as possible to create as much music in there to make it as memorable as I can. And so we got that part. And then the second part is on 11th fret, 5th, and 4th for the most part. So 11th to 5th to the 4th, and then down to the 2nd fret, okay, to finish it off. So if you just alternate between those 2 parts, how about we play the first one once, and then the second one once, alternate between those a couple times. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Some nuances in here which we can talk about, but what I want to get across mostly about this part is that yes, we're just moving around this shape, but what's cool about this is remembering what chords are actually taking place. So over the E chord, the first time through I'm hitting this 7th fret. What note is that 7th fret of the A string? Well, it's an E note, right? So that completely makes sense that over an E chord, that octave note would sound good. And then I'm just going up to a G on the 10th fret, which of course is the 2nd chord, to an A. And it actually sounds cool when you switch back and forth like this. Okay? And then the next time through is these guys, the 11th fret to 5th to 4th, are actually harmonies. So in this case, the 11th fret is going to be the major third of E. And actually, if you just resonate or let the E string ring and then hit that 11th fret, you'll hear this wonderful thick harmony. Okay, and that's called a major third when you combine the low E note and this note, which is a G sharp. Okay, okay, and of course we're going to add the octave. And this is where, by the way, like speaking about this technique and where you might see it, what just came to mind right now is the song Cherub Rock by Smashing Pumpkins. So let me know if you know that song. But yeah, but so there's that concept and that major third there, okay? And then the next chord is a G chord, as we've talked about, okay? And then over that chord, we're playing we're moving this octave shape down to the 5th fret, and that becomes a perfect 5th. Okay, that's that harmony. So when this note G and a D note are played together, that's called a 5th. Okay, and then the next chord goes to an A, and if you remember that sequence, we're like 11th to 5th to the 4th. Okay, and so what that means is that the chord is on an A chord, and we're playing a C sharp note, which is a major third of A. Again, that it'll provide a very similar sound to that, like a nice thick harmony. So if I combine those notes, I'm going to root that A note with my 2nd finger to emulate this. Which is a very nice thick sound. Okay, so I did do just some nuances in there, you know, like sliding these things around. And actually, there's a section of this octave riff where we're going to go up to 14th fret before we drop down into the 2nd part. Okay, so let's just hit that with the track just so we can really kind of think about this part as mostly as like a melodic part that's really just beefing up the chords with harmonies. Okay, so here we go. Ready, go. So hopefully you can hear that, getting that under your fingers. Let me know if you guys have any questions about that. And always, guys, we are live at the moment, so ask questions. And if you're catching the replay, you can ask questions too. That's the beauty of these online lessons, is the comment section. So the next part gets very Pearl Jam-esque. I gotta make sure that my microphone's still on here. Okay, so the next part is very Pearl Jam-esque, but definitely this is something they were doing in the 60s and 70s too, so it's nothing new, but here's what it sounds like. And I'm gonna add on some wah pedal on this section. So I'm gonna turn my wah pedal on just to give you the full effect. So does anybody know what technique that's called? It has a name. Okay, so of course the first technique that we just went over are octaves. And yeah, we're learning about some harmonies and some music theory there. Now, while those comments are coming in, that is called a unison bend. So what we're going to be doing here is, again, just following the chords. So in this case, I'm grabbing 5th fret of the B string. And if you know what note that is, hopefully you do, and hopefully just while I'm chatting about it, you can figure it out. It's E, okay? And of course, you can just compare the open strings just to double check. So yes, it is indeed E. And so what we're going to be doing is this note is going to be staying the same. That's our root note. And as you guys know, the first chord is E. So we're going to play this note E, but we're going to do this really cool effect called a unison bend. And we're going to grab our 3rd finger on the G string of the 7th fret. Use your 2nd finger as well and put it on the G string as well, because you're going to need that extra muscle on that string so you can change this sound into, and you can kind of hear it if you've ever tuned your guitar, and especially by ear, you'll kind of recognize that sound. It's very dissonant, gets even more dissonant, but then it starts cleaning up and it becomes the same note. And that's because this note is D, but what we're doing is we're bending it into E. Okay, so and our reference note is going to be that 5th fret. So just try that for yourself. See if, and here's really the trick, is that yes, you can go and figure it out. And kind of the beauty of it is that it will always be just a little bit out of tune. And that's what gives it its really thick sound. Now the trick here is to be able to basically bend to it really quickly and be able to go. Right? So I'm out of tune. So yeah. So I felt a little bit flat there. So yeah, that's a little better. So see if you can actually just test yourself, get an idea for what it feels like to just bend it. Oh, missed it. Yeah, that's a little better. Okay. So we're going to be using that that E note, and then up on 8th fret is a G, and then 2 more frets higher up to the 10th fret is an A. So again, right, we're going. Okay, so we've got, we're going to do the exact same thing there. We're bending this note, your 3rd finger fretted note, into a G note, and then same thing up here. We're just going to kind of follow that. So we just kind of like strum it out, like you might go. But now we're going to go. And it also sounds cool when you add some vibrato. You know, and that's the whole thing about this, is because it has a dissonant element to it, it actually creates a lot of just kind of struggle in the note. And like I was saying, this is kind of very Mike McCready. You hear this in, I believe it's the outro solo to Even Flow. It's either Even Flow or it's another one of their big, big hit songs. Anyways, so. So mess around with that for a sec. Now what we're going to do is something very similar to what we did with this. With those melodies. Now we're going to start up on E. Now that's how you do unison bend, starting from the B string, okay? Okay? But when you start from, if we were to go up to the high E string, if we were to do the That unison bend starting here, of course it's an octave higher, and how we gear that up is actually 1 fret higher. So in this case I've got 12 and 15th fret. Okay, and by the way, you'll see the tab pulled up there and stuff, but that's starting on bar 17 for that section. And then moving on to the second page of bar 25, we've got 12th fret and 15th fret, and you'll see there, that's how we get that sound. So we're going to go 12 to 10 to 9 to 7. Okay, so mess around with that for a second. Let's go. So actually the way that I've tabbed it out for you and composed the solo for you is that we're just going to do this once. But then what we're going to do is we're going to go something very similar. We start out the same way. And we're going to do something that's very kind of like helter-skelter-esque. So we're going to start out. We're going to go down to there, and we're going to switch it to another part of the guitar right here. So this is going to be our connector note into the next section of the solo. So we're going to go 8th fret and 7th fret. And I love this little zone because it just sounds like that. Okay, so that's going to be our connectors. So the second part is, sorry. Now, the next part is on bar 33. And now what I want to show you here is how, you know, like I was saying at the beginning of the lesson, a lot of 90s rock guys were very influenced by the classic rock guys. And who influenced the classic rock guys? Well, the blues guys influenced the classic rock guys, right? So I wanted to show you in this section that you can absolutely just play blues over a lot of 90s rock type of stuff, and it sounds really, really good. So I've got some pretty straightforward E minor pentatonic blues licks here for you. So we got... So, oh no, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. Okay, so we got, starting from bar 33, we got 3rd fret. I got a cool little lick. I do these licks here quite a bit, and which is just like kind of pulling off from the 5th, 3rd, and 0. 5th, 3rd, and 0. So yeah, it just sounds really flashy when you get it up to speed like that. But yeah, so the first part is... So there's the lick, so... One more time. So as you can hear, like if I were going, you know, if that was the jam track. Right, it's just like straight up blues. But of course, over this context, and I'll play this part for you in a second, you can just rip blues licks over a lot of 90s rock style stuff, or like even hard rock tracks, and it sounds really, really good. So again, one more time on that lick. Okay. Then we're going to go back up. We're going to session some more blues with... Okay, so that's a full bend on the 7th. Now here is one of my favorite licks, favorite areas. So this guy right here. So this is kind of what I think about is the little connector between your first position minor pentatonic and your second position minor pentatonic. So if you were to kind of connect those two, you might do something like this. And by the way, this is where so many just great hit songs were written. Right? So much great stuff there. So that's definitely something you want to get into your playing. You know, Jimi Hendrix, ZZ Top, all those guys, all the old blues guys, of course. Okay, so now we're going to kind of build up the intensity here with this lick. Now, the next section, and actually, why don't we just play up to there? So going back to this unison bend part, I'll start from here. So that's all tabbed out for you, but I'll go ahead and just jam that along with the track here. Okay, so that's what it's sounding like over the track, and it gives you some ideas on just how you might be able to implement these into your own solos. And certainly when you hear that sound, you know, that's what's going on, is that's a unison bend sound. If you ever listen to rock guitar, I'm sure you've heard that sound. And I love it when you add on some fuzz, or sorry, some wah. You can, again, if you've ever heard rock guitar, I'm sure you've heard that sound. So anyways, so that's getting us to the next technique that I want to show you. So of course we had unison bends, then we're going into straight up blues. Just using E minor pentatonic. And now I want to show you kind of the, getting back to that melody at the beginning that we were playing. What we're going to do now is another technique utilizing open strings. So if you haven't figured it out already, we're all talking about a lot of E blues bass kind of stuff. So, you know, with a track that starts and ends on the E chord, that's going to be a dead giveaway that your E minor pentatonic scales will work, but also your if you play E major, it works over here too. So we're basically doing E rock scales, okay? So this next part, we're going to have the open E string ringing out throughout this next melody. So, so now we're starting on bar 41 of the tab, and this is a really powerful thing to insert into your solos. And I look forward to hearing from you when you finally get the chance to play this technique with a band, because you know, there's one thing, of course, to be playing single notes, but as soon as you insert two strings and using this technique, there's something about this sound that just really stands out and sounds very powerful. And so we're going to get back to that melody. Okay, so we're just... Already hearing some rock and roll in there, right? Okay, so you can kind of mess around with that and get that melody going on if you like and follow the tab exactly, which would... Okay, and then we're going to also hit that other melody by hitting this note on that, starting on the 9th fret. So go down to that helter-skelter sound. Sorry, 9th fret. So that's that major third again, just like... Okay. Down to 3rd fret. And then we're going to hit that. That blues thing again to kind of give it another build up. Okay, so that little bit. Similar. This is kind of getting into a Chili Peppers vibe on what is that song? Mellowship Slinky in B major, I believe is the song name. So we're going to do something really similar, but now we're going to utilize both our B string and our E string, because if you just go like this for a second, hit your low E string and your B string and your E string, we've got just a very musical sound. And so if we glide our finger up the third string, the G string, okay, so you'll see that melody starting on page 3 at the very top. So we're going... to 9th fret, up to 12th fret, and then we're going to go into 13, which is our, there's that major third, so we actually went from a minor third. You can hear that sound like this. Okay, so that's that G to G sharp. In the key of E, that's a minor third to a major third. Okay? And that's all because the low E chord, we're going to really emphasize that G sharp over the E. And that's what happens. So, and now check this out. This lick, remember we've talked about this a couple times. Well, check it out. Okay, we got 16 and 15 on the G string and B. It's the exact same lick, just an octave higher, a full 12 frets higher. Gives you that awesome rock sound. So that's another section that we're going to build this up. So those are all those open string techniques. And again, that's just a really cool kind of like atmospheric way to add in melodies into your solos that just sound very loud. I don't know what other way to describe them, but I'm telling you, when you play with the band and you play those open string melodies, they just really kind of cut through the mix. There's just like a lot of bright sounds happening. But yeah, you can make them sound very melodic by gliding your fingers around on the right notes, of course. But actually, surprisingly, in the key of E, we can use a lot of these show you the smoking hot lick. And what this is very reminiscent of the Ocean. No, not the Ocean. The Jane's Addiction song called Mountain. Oh, what is it? The Ocean song. You guys got to help me if you know that Jane's Addiction song. I'm getting them all mixed up. But because I'm thinking about Led Zeppelin as well, because this is the lick that you'll find in Good Times, Bad Times. And this is exactly the same lick that Dave Navarro played in the Jane's Addiction song called Ocean, The Ocean. It's not the Mountain song. Anyways, so it sounds like that, and it actually works really well both up and down. So you'll see that all tabbed out for you, but what I want to show you is just one section of it. And if you want to get this down, like I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this, because if we just get this down, that's all you need to know, okay? Because all it does is it's just following an E minor pentatonic scale. And I'm choosing to start here on the 14th fret of the A string. And all I'm doing is I'm doing a 14 to a pull off, back to 14, up to 12 on the D string, and back to the 14th, okay? Now that is the sequence. So let's just practice that, I don't know, 3 to 5 times. So, oh yeah, and then actually let's go back to that 12th fret. So that's the sequence. So there's a pull off at the beginning, and those two guys are picked. Just play that as many times as you can and in this moment. Okay, so that's what we're going for. Now the thing is, and why that's the only part I'm going to teach you, is that it's all tabbed out, first of all, as you can see, but also it just follows that exact same sequence just on the next string. Okay. So, and that sequence will do the exact same thing on the way down as well. That's not how I have it tabbed out, but once you figure out that pattern, and then you just start on the next note here, the B string. Oh, sorry. And I used to actually practice this just going up and down, because I figured if it was in Jane's Addiction and it was also in Led Zeppelin songs, I needed to also get this down. And it's just such a ripper of a lick. So. I would literally sit there like that with a metronome, just playing that up and down and treating it like a scale. And you'll hear me play this here in a second over the actual full track. And yeah, like I said, it's just such a ripper of a lick. Now, when we get to the top, we're going to reach up. So we're flicking from the 12 to the 16th fret. Okay? And that's total Dave Navarro. That's an absolute Dave Navarro lick right there. And it's just so cool. Again, hitting that G sharp, a major third, instead of that minor third, and it just gives it this really bright sound, which sounds really cool. So I wanted to make sure to throw that in there to show you that. But yeah, so it's because your minor pentatonic note would be there on the 15th fret, but we're reaching up here. Okay, just again, a ripper of a lick. It's good. So Now the next part is what I want to show you is the final tremolo picking bit. So this sounds like this. And I'm just going to keep on going because I'm sure you're seeing a pattern here. So now the whole thing, this is like very, right, very Dick Dale-esque, and I'm not a really fast picker, even though it may kind of look like that, but that's the whole thing, is that when you do this on one string, it sounds really, really just like, again, ripping. You know, it just sounds really impressive to somebody that's listening, and yeah, and you can create really cool melodies. But as you can see, there's not a lot going on with my left hand. It's really all with the right hand. But the key is that I'm not switching strings. I'm doing this all on one string, and that's how I'm personally able to do it so quickly. And I just know for a fact that it's easier to pick really, really fast on just one string, rather than, it's like as soon as you integrate more strings, then it just, picking becomes insanely difficult. And I definitely can't pick that fast throughout other strings. Okay, so the melody that I'm doing here is I'm just going really just down an E minor pentatonic scale, and you'll see those notes tabbed out there at the very end, starting on bar number 61. But I'm choosing a little 3-note sequence. So all right, this is really 4-note. But I'm always going back up 3 notes. So if we just grab the first little bit, so I've got 1917, 15, 14. Who's seen the movie 1917, by the way? I just watched it. So 1917, 15, 14. So, but then I'm going to go up to the 17th, 15th, 14, and then 12. Okay, and that's what's getting me to start up high and then work my way down and to really maximize the notes. And that's, speaking about maximizing scale notes, that's exactly what this is doing. Right, we're really maximizing our E minor pentatonic scale. Because of course you could play it like this, or you could play it like this. Okay, so we're really just getting every last drop out of those notes that we can. So again, these 4-note sequences and then going up 3. So okay, so now the big key that I want to show you for this tremolo picking is turn your pick on a huge edge. If you have your pick flat on the string, you're going to have a heck of a time ever getting your pick to go fast. So as soon as you curl your finger around the pick, that's going to get the pick on a natural angle, but you can even tilt it even more so that you're totally on the edge of the pick. And now this is something that I learned from watching guitar players just in the last actually 6 months. And back in January, I went to an event that was featuring guitar players like Nuno Bettencourt and John Five, you know, these mega fast shredder guys. And what I noticed is that when you're tremolo picking and doing this, what I want you to pay attention to is these 2 fingers, my 2nd finger and my 3rd finger, that are gliding along the pick guard, right? So it's creating a little bit of a track for my fingers with extra stability. And I'm also, don't forget about having the heel of your hand resting on the bridge of your guitar. So between the heel of your hand resting on the bridge, your hand twisted, or not twisted, but your pick like on a very hard angle, and your 2nd and 3rd fingers on the pick, you know, you should be able to get the speed going. And so yeah, so that's just kind of a cool little thing to do. Now let's go ahead and open it up for Q&A. I'm going to go ahead and play along with the solo just one last time, just to give you guys a little idea of what this particular tab and this particular solo looks like. And I encourage you to get this solo down note for note. And if you want to get the tabs and the jam tracks to really work on this, well, make sure you become a Jam Play member. And you can find the link to start a 7-day free trial in the description below. But I'm going to go ahead and click on this. And if you guys have any questions about Jam Play, about the lesson, about guitar, anything that you want to go over in this lesson, hit me up. Get those typing fingers going. Here we go. Alright guys, so my main man over at Jam Play says that we have several questions. So go ahead and type in those questions now. Again, anything you want to know about guitar, about this lesson, about these techniques we covered, now is a great time to ask those, and I'm happy to do so here live on the call. But also if you have questions, and if you're watching on the Campfire Guitar Star networks or the Jam Play networks, you can drop in questions on the replay too. And yeah, just while those questions are coming in, guys, just a reminder for any of you guys that are watching on the Campfire Guitar Star networks is to start a 7-day free trial to Jam Play. You can get access to 6 of my full courses, plus thousands of others, and you can also get the tabs and all the jam tracks that I've been recording here and getting together for you for Rock Guitar Solo of the Week. So it's a huge bonus to be a Jam Play member. It's totally affordable, and you can, like I said, start a 7-day free trial with no credit card and all that kind of stuff. So let's go ahead and tackle these. Okay, so first question. What scale does this equate to? So I'm playing a mixture of E minor pentatonic and E major pentatonic. And so another way to think about that is playing E Dorian, but occasionally adding a major third. Okay? So I'll say that one more time, just so you guys know. So the question was, what scale am I playing here? You know, and of course we're applying different techniques, but of course there's notes going on. And so what notes, like what scale does that equate to? Well, we're playing a mixture of E minor pentatonic and E major pentatonic. And again, another way to think about that is an E Dorian scale with the occasional added major third. All right? So hopefully that answers your question. Just making sure that I was, yes, there's a C sharp, so that is in Dorian and in major pentatonic. So yeah, so really what you guys want to focus on is really get your minor pentatonics down and your major pentatonics. And then hopefully, you know, learning a solo like this is attainable and will kind of teach you how to combine the two together. Okay, so JJ asked, how clean is your amp? So believe it or not, I'm actually running through a really cool little rig using a Vertex dynamic distortion, which is a really cool, just straightforward distortion pedal, but I just really like it. I find it very toneful and very like just realistic. And I'm actually going through a Rockboard Mod 5, which is a cabinet emulating, cabinet simulation. So I'm actually not running an amp. So you can, so the actual total dry tone is actually just this. Which isn't too special because that's just, you're just hearing electric guitar that's not being processed at all, except by a cabinet, I guess. But then I turn on the distortion. And to my ear already, that just sounds like very realistic in terms of being an amp. And then I was just adding on, like when I was really just like performing throughout the lesson, I would turn on a little bit of extra dirt using an octave fuzz made by Fulltone. And then another big thing is also just adding reverb, because just to emulate a room noise. So you can hear that decay afterwards, as opposed to that, which is very dry. Right? So reverb just makes it everything easier and just more musical. And yeah, sometimes I was adding on a delay too. And also I use some wah. Okay. So yeah, so definitely some effects going on there, but it's all stuff that you would get out of an amp. But anyways, that's the main rig. But I'm loving this Rockboard Mod 5. It's a little module that sits on your pedal board, and yeah, just cabinet simulation. It's got a built-in headphone amp. Super, super cool thing, and I've been using it all the time for my lessons and also when I'm practicing at home and stuff. Absolutely love that thing. Eyes Without a Face asks, and I recognize that name, Eyes Without a Face. Thank you for joining us. Notice that name throughout the rock guitar solos of the week. Any tips on the Unison Bend to keep the index finger from also moving up a little as you rotate your wrist? I know what you mean. What I'm trying to do is try this part of your finger, like this, the pad of your finger. See if you can get that really solid onto the bottom part of the neck, and yeah, just see if you can just, between your thumb, that part of your finger, and your actual finger, just see if you can get just a really solid hold. And but yeah, I would imagine that you're probably missing one of those 3 bits, so your thumb, this part of your first finger, you know, to give your that neck lock, and then your actual finger. So something in there is probably getting messed up a bit. And then otherwise, it's probably just a strength thing. You may have to just build up some strength and see if these Unison Bends up on the 12th and 15th fret are a little easier, because definitely like you're gonna need some built-in muscle in order to perform that and nail those. So anyways, hopefully that helps. It's gonna be a practice thing. And again, just see if you can practice them, like, you know, before you even play anything, get the bend happening. And thank goodness I nailed that, because I'm a teacher and it's live. Oh, I did it again. Nice, but a lot of times I'll do it and it'll be like, oops. Wasn't quite there, right? So yeah, so it's a great way to practice, is to get that bend in first. Okay, Andy667 asks, any tips on adding the vibrato after you bend up? Yeah. I'm having trouble, it feels unnatural, and must be different than normal vibrato. So, okay, so it feels unnatural. So what he's talking about is when you bend a string and you add vibrato. Now, speaking about muscle and just control, that's definitely one of those things that, you know, not only are bends hard, but then when you add vibrato on top of the bend, it's also really difficult. So I just want to confirm with you that yes, bending with vibrato is very challenging. And I certainly remember a time in my guitar playing when that was a challenge for me, especially then, you know, like I was saying earlier, you got to get the bends in tune as well, right? So, but it sure sounds wicked when you get that going on and add the vibrato on top. So again, it comes down to that thumb finger lock, and with vibrato, a big part of it is rocking the guitar, you know, and getting a little bit of a pulsating motion with that third finger. But if I don't get that guitar rocking, then I'm gonna have a heck of a time getting that going on. So yeah, just what you want to do is definitely master vibrato on unbent strings, and remember that it is a rhythmic motion. You're only bending the string in one direction. Like in this case, I'm going to the floor and back home. I'm not going to the floor and to the ceiling. I'm only choosing one. So in this case, on the high E string, I would be going, bending that note, and then up. Right, I'd be bending that whole note up. Or if I'm doing just a single note vibrato without the bend, then I'm going to be bending towards the ceiling, right? Okay, so ceiling, home, ceiling, home, ceiling, home. Okay, so, and yeah, thumb and finger lock, the guitar rock, thumb and finger lock, and the guitar rock. I like that. So, and then other than that, it's just going to be practice and just muscle, and just developing that. And yeah, so again, it is challenging and it will take time. Just keep at it. You will eventually get it. And once you do get it, it will sound awesome. So just keep at it. Just keep at it. PSI Moan. P. Simone. P. Simone. If you had to give it a ratio, what would this attitude to skill ratio be on this type of solo? That's an excellent question. I thought you were going to be joking around, like talking about, like I thought my answer was going to be like, oh, this is a 10 out of 10 on attitude, you know, but that's a really good question actually. What would the attitude to skill ratio be on this type of solo? So yeah, so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to not make this type of, these types of lessons, like I don't want to make this stuff super, super complex, okay? And certainly, you know, these elements are simplified, okay? So does 90s rock get complex? I actually really think so. I think that a lot of 90s rock guitar players are very, very good, and they're very talented, and they're hard to emulate, and, you know, and all that kind of stuff. So, but, you know, whereas a lot of people consider the 1990s and, you know, was the death of the guitar solo and, you know, and things like that. But, and yeah, I guess like with the guitar players like Kurt Cobain, he wasn't like a lead guitar shredder, but he played a lot of guitar solos and a lot of really good guitar solos. You know, of course they weren't very complex, and I don't think that he really knew what he was doing with scales and stuff like that, but he had a great sense of melody and a good ear for tone and things like that. So there's a lot of attitude going on here for sure, right? We've got this these attitude elements. I think this is a great element of that attitude aspect of the right, that like that just kind of makes your face just go like this. You know, I can't even help it when I'm playing live and I'm doing stuff like that, like you just get the guitar face going, you know, it just like makes you do that. So yeah, there is, I don't know what the ratio is, but there's a lot of attitude going on here for sure. But I also think the skill ratio is higher than what people really give credit to. You know, like, of course, we always think about Jimi Hendrix and Jimmy Page and these guys being rock gods. But in my books, so is Tom Morello or John Frusciante or Dave Navarro. Like, these guys are like super, super good rock guitar players that have a ton of skill. So I don't know if I answered your question, but I hope you know what I'm saying. So again, Eyes Without a Face. My dude, how are you doing the wah increasing with the Unison Bend? Yeah, so I wish I had a secondary camera to show you here. But when I engage, so yeah, so that's exactly what's going on is as I'm going, I'm as I'm bending, I'm also sweeping that. So that's actually a very, speaking about unison, you know, at the same time, I'm simultaneously sweeping that wah pedal in the toe forward position as I do that. So I'm starting here, but then I'm finishing here. So yeah, great question. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in. And again, if you guys are tuning in on the Campfire Guitar Star Networks, make sure to check out all 6 of my full-fledged courses over on JamPlay, which I'm very proud about. And over the years, it's been amazing getting all the feedback from students all over the world that really, really love them. So the good people at JamPlay have been good enough to hook you up with a 7-day free trial to try out JamPlay. You'll find that link in the description here of this video in the comments below. So make sure to start that 7-day free trial, and all you JamPlay members know already that you can download the PDF and the GPX files to this solo and also the jam track that I composed here in my home studio. So thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Have a great weekend, and we'll catch you next week, next Friday, same time, same place, for Rock Guitar Solo of the Week number 6. Catch you later.